Good day, everybody. My name is Hannah, and I am loving, living, and inspiring through classical music, shared experiences, and lessons learned. In today's video, I'm going to talk about what we can do if we don't like the sound of our own voice. This reminds me, if you guys have ever seen the Q Park skits, QPARK. It's this guy who kind of does this shock value humor in New York City, and one of his skits is hearing his own voice, and he thinks he sounds great when he sings, but then when he listens to it, he shows his ears bleeding, and then he has this big exaggerating thing where he starts crying all over the city because he doesn't like the sound of his own voice. So I'm going to talk about 5 different things we can do, and let's go ahead and get started. First thing to know is that you are not alone. Most people do not like the sound of their own voice, especially when they get started. When I first started singing, when I heard myself on recording, I thought, are you sure that's me? That really is me? I didn't like the sound of my own voice either when I started. And most people, as a teacher, I've noticed literally all of my students, the first time they hear themselves, they're kind of not so impressed. So know that you are not alone. Second thing to know is that you share a common characteristic with other singers. So last year when I used to do a singer of the week, I would look up things about each singer with their biography, trying to figure out when they became famous, how they became famous, what was their big break, and just little facts about them. And most of the singers that I looked up from any type of singing, whether it was classical singing, popular singing, all types of singing, most people would say that they were perfectionists. Either the singer themselves would say they were, or other people would note them as being particularly perfectionistic. For example, Luciano Pavarotti is, if you guys don't know who he is a very famous operatic tenor who was one of those singers who was broadcasted. If you guys remember the 3 tenors, he was one of the 3 tenors, probably one of the most notable ones. The first time Pavarotti and the other tenors performed, this was broadcasted all over the world. And they note that, Pavarotti notes that as it being just a fantastic night, almost magical, and how awesome it was. But after that happened, people around the world wanted to hear them do that again. They loved it so much. And for the longest time, he had said no to them because he said that he felt like nothing can compare to that one night, the first time they did it. He was afraid that they wouldn't be able to recreate that magic. And he said out of all the performances he's done, he only has a couple that he's actually pleased with. And this is the same thing, again, with most popular singers. If you look up Whitney Houston, she's noted as being a perfectionist. If you look up Christina Aguilera, she's noted as being a perfectionist. Any of your singing idols, look up a biography of them, look up facts about them, and tell me that doesn't say that they were a perfectionist. Okay, so now we know that we're not alone. We know that we share a common characteristic with most other singers of being very perfectionistic about our work and not quite being satisfied with most of our performance. Now that we've got those things out of the way, okay, so what can we start doing now? So number 3 is to now detach. Detach your voice from yourself. Don't identify with your own singing voice. If you get emotionally invested in your singing progress, it's going to be a very hard, painful, and frustrating experience. I know this because I have done it, and I still struggle with doing this sometimes. So make conscious effort to detach your singing voice from your own self, because then if you can detach, you can just discern what needs to be fixed and what doesn't need to be fixed without getting upset about it. I once had a friend tell me that when the water is calm is when you could see your reflection the best. When the water is calm is when you could see the reflection the best. And that's what you need to be. And you can only be calm, at least for my own self, when you're detached from your own singing. Now that we've detached our own emotions and our own ego away from our voice, now we can finally start to get to know our voice. So number 4 is to just get to know what your voice sounds like. What you should start doing is in your practice, in your performances, record yourself. I have another video where I reference how to make the best out of your voice lessons. This is a great time to record yourself so that you can get to know what you sound like. Listen to your recordings after you sing and just get used to, okay, this is what my voice is naturally sounding like. This is kind of what it tends to do. And also note, I will mention that I do believe when you hear someone sing live, their voice does sound different than when it's recorded. So just remember that when you do record yourself, it's not 100,000% accurately what you sound like, but it's pretty much what you sound like. So just keep that in mind. If I just use the voice memos on my phone for something like just observing myself, that seems to work well. And just take that time to just, okay, this is what my voice sounds like when I do this. This is what my voice sounds like when I do that. Just get to know the characteristics of your voice. Which finally brings us to the 5th thing that we can do is after we notice what the characteristics of our voice are, now we can finally train ourselves to be what we want to be. Now, if you have a voice teacher, they will mostly help you through this, and then you'll start to see what works and what doesn't work. But if you're on your own and you are choosing not to do voice lessons for whichever reason, I highly recommend doing this. But if for some reason you're not, just listen to yourself. And what you can do is you can, sing something and do a phrase of singing a couple times, different ways. Okay, so when I breathe like this is how my voice sounded. But when I breathed differently, my voice sounded quieter. Or when I imagine that the sound is right here, wow, that sound really sounded really clear. But then when I imagined it down here, it felt more tense. Really take the time. This takes a lot of self-reflection and observation. Really take the time to just play around, notice what you did, listen to what the result was in the recording, and use that as your guide to be where you want to be. And then once you figure out that's a sound that you want to have, remember what you did to achieve that sound and trust it. Trust it. Do it a couple times, record yourself again just to make sure it's still there. And then because when you're performing, you can't listen to yourself while you perform. So you just have to trust that that's what it feels like when you sing in that way. Something else I will mention is also note what works and what doesn't work for you emotionally. I think it is beneficial to, when you record yourself and observe how you're sounding, to note what is going well, like at least one thing that's going well, and also note what you want to improve. Some people, I have met some people who like to just hear what they need to improve. They think it's kind of a waste of time to have positive reinforcement. To me, that's just wild. Like, I thrive off of positive reinforcement and nurturing and that type of stuff. It just really helps me out. And you know, some people, like if you're like me, I have these thoughts that can turn negative sometimes pretty quick. So I have to know what I'm doing well or what I like about it as well. That's what works for me. So in that, you can take all of these tools to figure out what you like so you can enjoy your sound. And I promise it changes. It really, really does. When I first heard myself, I wish I had it. I had it on a CD somewhere. No idea where I put it, but I would love to find that CD so I can compare that to what I sound like now. I know for a fact I sound completely different than what I sounded like before. Now, a lot of this was because I took voice lessons, but part of it was because I also took my own singing into my own hands. I spent a lot of time observing and remembering what the sensation was to get the sound that I wanted. So I really hope this helps you. And if you're someone who's listened to yourself and you feel like you know, you don't like how you sound, it feels frustrating, you feel discouraged because maybe you feel like, oh my gosh, that's not anything like I want to sound like, don't give up. It will change. It does get better, but you have to be consistent, and you really got to make sure you detach. I've been there. I promise you I've been there. And those negative thoughts, if it's getting to the point where it's debilitating you to where you almost feel like you want to cry because you're so frustrated, it's time to just take a step back and come to it again. Then the more self-love you give yourself, the more you detach. Why would you identify with your voice? You are not your voice. So detach from your voice so that you can actually have that space to make that improvement. It will get better, and I've been through it. And I check out my other videos. I do talk about how to make the most out of your voice lessons. I also talk about a lot of self-development things to help you just be the best you can be. And I also have some fun videos about traveling as well. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Also, if you have found value in this, please remember to subscribe and like this video. And if you have any things that have helped you from your experiences of recording yourself and listening, please let me know in the comments. I love to hear from you, and I do plan to bring out more videos like this. And thank you for watching.